I don't know if you can pick this out, but all, bear with me one moment guys, I'll just turn you. Okay, all the integrity of the drum has gone, and because of that the thing is moving. Look, we've got massive holes where all the weld they've given away and stuff like that, but it's held up for over a year of hammering, and it takes about an hour to build a new one. So with that in mind, we're going to rip this one out. This side of it, okay, here it does start to go just here, look, but of course these bigger holes now are letting things through that they shouldn't be. So we're going to sort that out. To do that, we just got to take off this block here, which is a running wheel. I don't know if you can see it there, it's a bit dark I know, but maybe this side's better. There's a running wheel there, just runs along the side of the wheel to stop the barrel moving forward or backwards. The problem is now, because the integrity of the drum is gone, that is not stopping it moving, and we could still use it as it is, but it is letting little bits through, which I'm not too happy about. So all we've got to do is take off this wheel just by undoing these two screws here. Excuse the noise. Okay, so that wheel is now off, and that's going to allow this drum now to slide forward. Before we do that though, we need to dismantle the drive belt just by doing that. So that belt is now off, and we should be able to just work it so that the drum, there we go, comes out. Just got to work it past each of the wheels. There we go. Take the belt off. We'll leave that there. And there we have it guys, there's the drum out. So it's as quick as that. All we're going to do now is cut the cable ties. I'll do a close-up on that actually so you can see. See the cable, I don't know if you can see it there, like here, look, here, here, the wheels are just held on, or the mesh is just held on by some cable ties. So we just got to cut all them out now, chuck that mesh away, put a new piece of mesh in, and job done. And hopefully we'll be away again. So I'll get that done tonight. I might even video it for you guys, as I said, and tomorrow we should have a new drum and be able to continue with the rest of the you know, the getting the rest of it through the trommel. We need to build one anyway because I need the trommel for the pelly mix and everything else. So like I said, for the sake of an hour's work, we'll get that done hopefully today, if I've got enough mesh at home. If not, it'll be tomorrow. To dismantle this, all we've got to do is literally get a Stanley knife and cut through the cable ties. This is one of the reasons I didn't want to wire it, because by wiring it, it makes this job much harder. Of course, if you had a cable cutters or something, great, but I'm trying to save a bit of time by using a Stanley knife, because I haven't got a cable cutters with me, and I can do this while I'm here, ready for later. And then when I get, all I got to do then is take the wheel rims home. I haven't got to take everything else home. I've got the trailer, so it wouldn't be an issue. But there we are. So it's a bit of a potch, whereas if you had, I think that way is easier actually. Cut them off altogether. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to leave you there and I'll come back to you now when we build the next one. Hiya guys, as part of the video that we recorded or earlier on, or will be the first part of this video, you saw that I took these wheel rims off the last trommel cage, and we've cleaned them all up ready. Unfortunately, I explained that I'd taken the mesh off so that I can just put them in the back of the trailer and not worry about them, but because they're so light, one of them's bounced out of the trailer, so I'm only left with two. I've been back all over the places I'd been, but I couldn't find it anyway, so obviously that's no good to us, such as having two. So I've gone out and I've purchased a wheel. Okay, it's the same size. The only difference with this one is the rim on the inside is a higher profile, so this one is going to go on the entrance to the trommel where we throw the soil in, which will help. It'll just cause a slight curve and that will stop the soil coming back on itself, so it'll do us a favour. Obviously we've got all of these spokes and a hub and everything else that we no longer need, so what I'm going to do is I've got to take all them out, and I thought it would just be an ideal opportunity to show you exactly how we get the rims and where we go from there. First thing we need, a pair of wire cutters. You can take these apart with a screwdriver, but I find that usually wire cutters are much quicker, and we just literally go around cutting all it. Just watch there's no kids around when you're doing this, because they do fly about because they're under pressure, or they're under tension I should say. You can't put your hand over the top, which will stop them going anyway, and then just pull them out your way. And then once you've got all of these out, we'll be left with 3 rims and a mess. So unfortunately, if you're gonna ever build one of these and you have to replace the drum like we've had to because of the hard work it's had, don't put them in a trailer and leave them bounce out. Okay, now if you notice now, the sound is a bit different, and the reason for that is obviously none of this is under tension anymore, but they are getting harder to cut. So just keep pulling them out. And yes, it is a waste of a wheel, but we don't want a wheel, we want the rim, and we weren't able to get a rim. So we're nearly there, guys. Might be a good idea to wear glasses, but I have got my hand over the top of these now. So, and we're now one hub out, and there's our rim. I don't know if you can see the profile on this one. It's much more pronounced than it is on that rim, but they are the same diameter, which is the outside diameters are the same, so the internal isn't going to matter because we're going to put it on this end, which will just stop anything just rolling back out that way. So we're back to having three rims. So we got this mesh here that we'll have to dispose of. That'll go in the recycling bin, and that can go out for them. Okay guys, as you can see, we have some wire mesh here. This is the 13mm square. What this allows you to do is to get rid of all the root and the stone and everything else, but it allows small stone to still help with drainage, which is like really good. So as you can see, it was the end of a roll, so I've unraveled it because obviously it's a little tight. So our first thing we need to do is to get a rough dimension And by when I say rough, I mean quite rough. And what we're looking to do is to get where the spokes came into the rim, we're getting that to match on the first line down, and we'll fold this lip over then. Okay, so that's the first thing we're looking to do. What other things you're going to need are some wire and some Tubebuddy clips. Bear me a second. This wire and Tubebuddy clips is just going to now allow us to tie things off. Now I've pulled you back so you can see, but it's literally just a case of pulling them on. So once we get this roughly around, we're going to miss a little bit where the last hole is, because that's where we want, and we're going to start on this one. And what we do, we come from this side. It's a bit of a potch, but we're going to come from this side. We're going to stick it through the hole. So that Tubebuddy clip's just gone through the hole, and it's coming back up through the hole, and then we're going to Tubebuddy clip it together. But once we got the first couple on just to support it, we'd be alright. But the first one, we could do this on the floor, but it doesn't allow us to get where we need. Okay, so we need to go around the wire and then back up. And all this does, we could wire it in permanently, but the reason I don't wire it in is because if I need to make any alterations or cut the rim off or change the wire, it just makes life a lot harder. And also I find that the wire shreds much quicker. Okay, so I'm going to do now is just lay this down now, just to make life a bit easier for us. Okay, so we got the first one in place. I'm going to just pull it through, and all we do then is just keep feeding it around. It is a bit of a potch. And then we're going to push that in there, and we're going to get it pliers and pull it. And we're going to pull it so it's as tight as it possibly can without breaking. There we go. So that's the first one, and we're going to get right into the hole and clip him off. So that's the first one done. Okay, the reason we haven't started right on the edge is when the overlap comes, right around, then we can use that then to help tie that through. So down to the next hole now with another cable tie. So let's get a few of these out, and it's literally just like that. Line it up on that line there. Now this one is come right between the crosses, but it shouldn't be a problem. We should still be able to get it through. Just means it catches across instead. There we go. And these do get easier as you get around and the drum starts taking shape. This rim is a bit different to the other ones because it's got a cavity. It's got a little cavity where the actual spokes went, and obviously because of that I'm having to get the sockets, the things inside, and it is making it a little awkward, but just watch your face when you're pulling them, because they will snap and twist on you. But you need to get them as tight as possible, obviously without breaking them like that. But fortunately that one held, so that's good. And we just go on to the next. So once we've got the one wheel done, I'll show you about the others, and then we'll go from there. Okay guys, as you can see, I have zip tied from the top all the way down to the bottom rim. That rim is now on, so we've now started to create our trommel basket. So we've zip tied all this. We'll cut these off now in a moment. We need to do another layer just down here, and then we'll trim the excess off, and then all we've got then is the top and the middle rails to put in of the drum, and then we landed. What I'm going to do, I'm going to leave you switched on so you can actually see a bit of that, and I'll fast forward the video as we go. But other than that guys, just watch on and everything should become self-explanatory. Good morning, guys. It's Saturday the 18th of January. We've been asked many times on how we built the trommel. There's been loads of people asking for what materials we've used, how it goes about, how it works, and what have you. And we're in the middle of doing the soil preparation in this polytunnel, the new one that you've seen the build for. And while we were doing that, the old drum actually got damaged by a couple of big rocks and things like that, and it's had a hammering over the last sort of year or so. So we've decided to take this opportunity. We rebuilt the drum last night, so we decided to take an opportunity and give you a walk through the trommel, how we put it together. The structure itself is quite basic, okay, and how we build a drum and things like that. Okay, the drums can be built in about an hour and a half, something like that, so you know, you can build different sizes if you wanted, and what have you. So with that, as you guys know, all right, I'm one for recycling things. If I can get something for nothing, I'm more than happy to do it. It's not always the case, and there are times, like with the timber in this polytunnel, that I use pressure treated and I had to go and buy that. But more often than not, if I can get something for nothing and use it on the plot, I will. So with that in mind, the frame of the polytunnel was built out of all, the frame of the trommel was built out of all scrap wood, okay? It could be built a lot lighter and what have you, but I've got quite a substantial motor on this, and the motor is quite heavy. So you know, you want to weight there, you don't want it being thrown about, and we're chucking soil into it and things like that, and big rocks and what have you. So a light little flimsy frame probably isn't going to be good enough, but I'm going to take you through it, explain what we've done, and we're going to go from there. Okay, so as you can see, I'm going to take this off just for the moment, and we'll explain that in a moment. Okay, the frame is literally 4 upright bars, okay guys. These 4 bars, 4 posts, are what the legs stand on. Now, I'll explain a few things about alterations later on, okay, but for the moment we're just going to go on the basic structure of this unit, okay. And it is quite heavy because we've used quite strong timbers, okay. So after them 4 bars, then 4 uprights, all we've got is some cross members, and we're using your 4x1 planking, okay, that we've cut up. I'll take you through so you can see down the bottom as well there. Same on the back there, and up on the top on the other side, okay. We've also got some side pieces, one there, one there, one down there, and the other one over there. On the side that the drum rotates towards, if you notice, we've put some tongue and groove down the side there. The reason for that, because of the rotation of the drum, it wants to throw the soil out the side rather than down. So we need a way of containing that. Now, a piece of plastic, black plastic, would do the job, or whatever the case. But we had some tongue and groove satchel. It's old stuff. We've just tacked it on and it's done the job great. Now on the back, I'm going to have to take you in closer, but on the back we've got one of these, okay, and it's literally a block, okay, with a wheel on it. Alright, so that wheel is screwed in 2 corners to hold it to the block, screwed in 2 corners to hold it to the block, and then we put a big screw right through the bearing to stop it rotating. Okay, because that's the last thing you want. We don't want it rotating. And as you can see, it's an old piece of wood that we've just cut and job done. We've put a block on here. Let me just turn you so I can see. No, you can't see that. There we go. Right. So we've put a block on here to build it out, which will come out for the drum, and then this unit gets screwed into that. And what these were an afterthought, really. We found the drum moved back and forth on the wheels, and because of that we decided that we were going to find a method to stop that. We could have just put a block of wood there, but then that causes drag issues and everything else. So what we decided to go on was these wheels, and these are just casters that you can buy anywhere. They're lockable if you want to. but obviously we have him in the unlocked stage. Okay, you know, but you can lock him if you want to. So it's a case of just putting it on, screwing it up, job done. Okay, the next stage of the build, we've got a very large V-belt, okay, and I'll explain the sizes and everything else in a moment, but this V-belt is what drives the trommel itself. Then, so that's the structure of the trommel built. The top of it, I'll see if I can tilt it towards you, is hollow, okay, and up there is where the motor sits. And the reason we mount the motor on top is for two reasons. If it was mounted to the side, it puts a lot of weight on one side of the unit, so that's no good to us. These here is what the drum rides around in, okay, and it literally sits on these 4 wheels on each end. So we basically got 4 wheels, and the drum sits in between those wheels and rotates on them, okay. And all this is 10M threaded bar, and it's screwed to them posts. I'll see if I can get a shot for you guys, okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get in, but oh, actually I can see one over there. Bear with me a second, I'll see if I can zoom in for you. Okay, right behind that wheel, you should in a moment, if it zooms in enough. Sorry guys about this. There. Okay, you should see about here, there's a little brass pipe clamp, and they use those when screwing plumbing to metalwork and things like that. So all we've done is got 4 of those, okay. I'm going to zoom you back out now. Okay, all we've done is got 4 of those, and you know, on each side, we've strapped these up, and it just gives that little bit of, you know, support. Now, some people have asked, well, do you put the drum at an angle and this, that and the other? Okay, you want the drum at an angle to work, however you want it to sit square within the wheels, because if it doesn't, it wants to roll out and it fouls up the drive belt, okay. So the drum has to be square, so these have to be level when they're in the actual machine. And then you can either make the 2 back legs of the machine a little bit longer, or do what we're going to talk about a little bit later on, okay. Like I said, this was built quite quickly for a reason. We wanted to use it, and we built it really quick, so so we didn't really have time for, you know, for refinement and things like that. But over the next few months we will get down to doing that, okay. The next thing that we're going to need is a drum, okay. Now this is a drum, it's made of mesh, and it's made of 3 bike wheels, okay. So these are 29-inch bike wheels. Now, in a moment, as I said earlier on, we had to build a new drum, and this one was built last night, and we recorded our video, which you will see now. Okay, that drum literally now just gets pushed into those 4 wheels, okay. It's obviously got to be a tight fit, but you can work it in, and this is all you do. Now this is the tricky bit now, because we've got to get the drum square at the back and at the front before we push it in. So it may mean I have to come around the back here and pull it through. So you just keep, it's a little bit of a fiddle, but you need it tight, see guys, or it won't work. There we are. So we're now right in, and we're up to that little back wheel that supports it, the one of these. Okay guys, so what we need to do now is put this wheel on, okay, and it's just literally a case of lining him up and screwing him home. Okay, so we've just got him lined up now on the thing there. We're just going to screw him home about there. Actually there. So now our drum is in, and if I drag him around, that's how he works. Okay guys? Okay. The next stage of the build, okay, so we've got our trommel in effect done. The next stage of this now is the motor. And you're going to have to excuse me picking this up because it's a little heavy, and I'm going to have to move some things out of the way to be able to get it up there. But the idea of this motor, like I said, it needs to be top mounted because for the stability of the trommel, okay? So that's what we're going to do, and I'll explain everything else about the motor in a moment. Okay, so we've got the motor on top. This motor, okay, works on, wait me a second, let me just get you up there. Okay, I don't know if you can quite see that there. See if I can wind you up. Okay. Should be able to bring you in a bit now, actually. There we are. Right. Okay, sorry I'm jerking you around, you guys, but I really want to explain this. Okay, there's a couple of reasons, okay, why the motor is detachable. Okay, we leave the drum and the frame and everything up here in the winter and all year round, and you know allotments, what they're like for things being stolen in them and things like that. Okay, so obviously if I left the motor up here, it would disappear. Alright, so that's what we do, okay? We just do that. At the moment, I've only got a couple of bolts in the motor because a couple have worked their way loose and come out. This motor, okay, is a 1.5 horsepower motor, okay? And the rotations of it, okay, is 1380 RPM, okay? So we don't want that rotating down to 1380 revolutions a minute because this thing will be going around like a washing machine. Incidentally, guys, we had this motor sat around from another project, so that's what we're using it for, and we will be using this motor, and that's another reason for it being detachable on other projects, so it's going to be an interchangeable thing. Okay, but the last thing we want is this drum spinning around at 1380 revolutions a minute. Okay, we need to bring that down to between 25 and 30 for this trommel to work properly. Okay, how we do that is gear it down. We've got a 2-inch pulley here on the motor. Okay, and incidentally, this motor, it just runs off normal 240 volts, so a washing machine motor could work with roughly the same gearing. Okay, so we've got we've got a 2-inch pulley on here with another V-belt drive. Okay, that comes up to a 10-inch pulley. Okay, and I've seen people using the pulleys off the back of washing machine drums. So if you've got an old washing machine, or you can get hold of an old washing machine, there's no reason you couldn't build this. Okay, it could all be built out of scrap parts. You know, you could get an old washing machine, the motor could come from it, the back big pulley could come from it. You may have to go and get yourself 2 small pulleys. Once that comes down to a 10-inch pulley, okay, that then steps down to another 2-inch pulley here, which reduces it. This brings it down to something like I think in the math it was around about 400 revolutions or something, and then by bringing it down to another 2-inch pulley, and then up to a 29-inch wheel on the trommel, that brings us down to 28 revolutions a minute, which is ideal for us. Okay, so what we need to do, I want to explain one more thing, and I'm going to have to bring you around. I'm sorry if I'm bumping you about here. Okay, on the back here, guys, you might be able to see. Okay, this is how the pulley is mounted. Okay, so you got your pulley here. It's mounted with two bearings, okay, and there's just a big steel bar going through. It's a bit rusty, but as long as it rotates, that's all that matters, okay. So it's just mounted onto those sort of bearings there, and then bolted to this board. And again, this is just scrap we had. It could have just been a solid board or a piece of ply or something like that, but we had 3 scrap boards. We just screwed them all together. The wiring on it is very easy. It's just it's like if you can wire a plug, you can wire the motor, okay, so that's not an issue. So the next thing we need to do now is take that V-belt there, okay, and literally put it into the wheel and up onto the drum. These cable ties, incidentally, don't affect the V-belt. They don't quite ride down that low, so it's not an issue. All right, so I'm going to put you back over here while I do that. Okay, right, the other thing this V-belt does, it keeps the drum tight up against the wheels, so for the rotation of it. So as you can see at the moment, the drum itself is at quite an angle. That's because we've raised the 2 legs on bricks. We have a few other ideas for that, but for now I'm just going to get this belt on if I can. Let me move this motor back, make my life easier. There we are. Right. Now, we need to get this belt over there. And at the moment, we lifted it up on some blocks, but they're it's raising it a bit high, so I'm going to take them out. And that's how we use that's how we get the tension we need on the motor, okay, is we just get some blocks underneath the board. I'm going to have to bolt that motor up in a moment, so because the screws have worked loose when we've been working. Okay, there we go. We shouldn't be far out there. Right, so if I lift this up now nice and tidy, there we go. Just roll him on. There we are. That's on now. So essentially now, guys, that's the trommel ready to roll. We've replaced the drum, or we built a new drum because we broke the old one. And I'll bring you back over here. So that's the trommel ready to roll, guys. It's back up and running. All we've got to do is plug a power source into it, so we'll use the generator for that, and you're away. I know this has been a bit of a sort of made up video as far as you know, not putting it all together and everything else, but you've got the important information you need. You know how to, anybody can build a cube to fit the drum. Build your drum first, as we've shown you, okay? Then once you've got your drum, build a cube that's going to fit around it, and then fit your wheels on. You know, you can put your bar in with your wheels on, slide it down to fit the right place, and then bolt that bar in. And that's literally all we've done with it. So that's it, guys. You know, you can build this all scrap wood, a little bit of mesh, some wheels, and you can get you know, you can be able to pick up some wheels quite cheaply on eBay, or if you want new ones, or you might even be able to pick them up from a junkyard or whatever the case being. And you need a washing machine motor, or you can buy a motor, or if you've got one hanging around. As far as angling the drum goes, okay, what we do, we've got it up on a couple of bricks at the moment. You could make these back legs a little bit longer, which would put an automatic sort of angle in it. Excuse me, crossing the camera. Or what we're going to do is we're going to drill the bottom of the legs, put another threaded bar through with some wheels on, and then we're going to put some handles right, you know, some boards right across here, so we can lift it up and literally walk it around. It'll make moving it so much easier because it is a heavy piece of kit. But when we take the motor off, it's quite light. We can put it behind the polytunnel, cover it over with some plastic, excuse the rain on the polytunnel, guys, The weather's been atrocious the last few days, and that's basically it. So, you know, now the trommel is tight and it should run quite nice for us. So, and we should be able to chuck stuff in here now without it laying out any more root and things like that. The video for the soil preparation in here is going to be coming up later on this week. We haven't finished this yet, so we've been filming as we've been going along, and that's going to be a couple of part video maybe, but that's going to be put into the polytunnel build video series. Okay, so without any further ado, guys, I'm going to let you go, and hopefully this has been of interest. You know, as always, please comment, and you know, if you've got any idea for videos or anything like that, I'd be more than happy to do them for you. Anyway, guys, that's it. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you shortly.